Hello and welcome back to Kata versus MMA. We're going to be working on stopping the takedown. So in street violence, we're seeing more and more MMA influence, and one of those things that we're seeing is changing levels and shooting in for the double leg takedown. So we've got a few skills that come from Naihanchi Shodan Kata that we can use to prevent that from happening. We're going to work these out of the clinch, and the first one is going to be the single position, which is here with the chambered hand and the single here, so a little bit off on an angle. Okay, remember this is our underhook. Instead of pulling their arm towards the hip, most of the time I'm going to take a neck collar position. So I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. So I'm going to get a little help from Glenn. Glenn, if you could come on. So what we're going to do first is just do a quick review of the underhook. So I'm going to be wanting to come under his arm, grabbing his shoulder and pulling in like this. This hand, I'm going to take his neck and get my forearm in on his clavicle. Now, if he's trying to change levels, show what I mean by changing levels. So he's going to come in and boom, he's going to go for my legs, okay? His head has to be able to go there. So if I were to physically be pushing on his head like this and he tries to change levels, he can't do it very well, okay? So head position is very important on this. So when I get my underhook in my collar, I want to put my head right in here, okay? So by driving that head in just like that. Now I don't want my head down because they can pull down on my neck. I want it at an angle where it's still strong. Okay, so you can take a look at the angle of my head, okay? And by turning his head, that helps to prevent him from being able to change levels to begin with anyway. The other thing that I'm working on is I've got that underhook and that tie with the collar position, okay? So let's switch sides here just a second so you can see a bit more with the tie. So I'm coming in here and I'm driving that elbow in, that forearm into his clavicle. So if I were just to leave the underhook out, I'm not going to use it, and he goes to change levels, I can lower my level and use this pushing position to prevent him from being able to come in. Now we're going to use the underhook this time. I'm going to keep my head out, okay? And we're going to use the underhook to help prevent him from taking that position. So I've got my underhook in now. Let's switch here so you can see that. I'm not going to use this hand or my head, okay? But notice my underhook is aligned with my hip, so that when he tries to change levels, I drive my hip up and in, which drives up my single position, okay? So as he tries to change levels here, I can help keep him up with this one. Now the effect is, if I use all three, I get something much better, obviously, okay, because they each complement each other. As you can see, he's having a really hard time changing levels. If I'm a little bit behind the curve here and he starts changing levels before I react, I lower my level to meet his. As you can see, it stops him up and it prevents him from being able to come in and do the double leg. All right, we have another option that comes out in Naihanchi Shodan, and that's the stacked hammer fist, which is our underhook and reverse collar position. And we can use that to have his head turned out so his center line's not able to drive directly into us, and we're also able to help keep him up with the underhook. And if we need to, we can change levels with him all in one motion, okay? So Glenn, if I can borrow you, please, sir. So we're going to start from the same position we just had last time, which is going to be our underhook and our regular collar position, okay? If I have the opportunity, I always prefer to go to the reverse collar. So what I've done is I've just taken my hand, I don't take it off and then put it on over here, I roll it around his head, and you see how I'm pushing against his head before I tie it up, okay? So I roll around and push against his head. So I've got this underhook, which I'm using my hip to help drive up, okay? I've got my left arm, which is driving his head away, preventing him from being able to turn in and do a good double leg on me. And if I have to, as he changes levels, if I don't prevent him from doing that with these two, I can lower my position and prevent him from doing the double leg, okay? Now, of course, he's set up well for a knee strike right here, and I can certainly use an elbow, pop an elbow in real quick to help distract him if we're working in on something like that. All right, for the last one that we're going to show from the Naihanchi Shodan to prevent the double leg is we're going to use the low yoi position, okay? If I can get Glenn again. So we're going to do this one from a high yoi position, okay, which would be like a Muay Thai plum, all right? If I'm doing the Muay Thai plum correctly, you know, if I'm doing the yoi position correctly, remember I'm on the round of the head here, and I'm driving my forearms into his clavicle and hollowing him out, okay? So if I've got that really well, if he tries to change levels, I can prevent him just by lowering my level, okay? But, you know, I've got an option here that I can use, because if I've got his neck bent forward and I've got him rounded out, his posture is not very good for shooting that double leg. So what I'm going to do is that low yoi position, or the snap down. So I'm in this position. When he changes levels, I'm just going to back up and go into that low yoi. I'm working on the background of his head, okay, this whole time, because it gives me good leverage and enough purchase that I'm not going to slide off. So again, we're right here. He goes to change levels. I kick my legs back and I drive him down just like that. Of course, this sets him up great for a knee strike. All right, maybe from a different angle. So right here, so I'm in this position, he drives, boom, I'm down. All right. Thank you, sir. So one final thing I'd like to put out there is you should study a little bit about how to do the sprawl. I'm not going to include it here for brevity's sake, but there's lots of information out there for the sprawl. The reason why I bring this up is you may get a shot where you're not in the clinch already, or you're near the clinch and they change levels and they shoot in, and that sprawl is going to be very important for you to be able to stop the takedown. Why are we stopping that takedown? This is because the majority of the skills from the Naihanchi Shodan are on their feet, okay, or in the clinch. So, or I should say all the skills are. And you may have skills on the ground, but at this point our focus is going to be trying to bring everything back to using Kata, and using that to counter the MMA. Please help us continue to bring you some great videos by subscribing to our channel and sharing our videos.